Estelle Read, who's a human potential coach. And she works with the professional services industry with a variety of clients ranging from PLCs through to small local companies. The common denominator for all of these being that they are looking to grow performance in some way. She describes herself as being supportive and challenging, you know, a little bit like the good cop, bad cop, tenacious, and her, you know, the thing that really sets her afire is seeing her clients get results. She is practical, passionate, and loads of fun, and I'm so excited that she is here today to talk to us. So, Estelle, welcome, and tell us, what are you working on at the moment?
I have just finished writing my book, Inner Brilliance, Outer Shine.
Very nice.
With your fabulous help.
You're welcome. So, tell us about the book. Tell us about the book. What did you? How long have you been writing it?
Well, I was looking at this morning actually, and I was going to say 12 months, but actually it took 7 months because we did quite a bit of planning, didn't we, in the early stages?
Yes.
But I finished it on the 22nd of December, and then spent a couple of months editing it, which completely sucked the life out of me and made me wonder whether I want to write another one. But it's but it's targeted at people who overwork, so a bit of a workaholic, and often have got imposter syndrome going on in the background as well, because it's that belief system that drives the workaholism and gets people burnt out. And the reason I've written it is because it takes one to know one. That's me.
I think some of the best products, the best assets that people can create are the ones that resolve one of their own issues or their own problems, because you know it so intimately and you've been on that journey yourself, so you can write that journey for other people. So what, without going into detail of your own workaholism, what's your promise for readers of the book? So what will they learn when they read your book?
Well, I take them through a journey, really. So we begin with the right mindset, because often when clients come and sit in the coaching chair, they come for help, but then they can get stuck in a pattern of behaviour, which I refer to as Groundhog Day. So kind of screw up and repeat, screw up and repeat. And early on in my coaching career, I got frustrated because we'd have a typical coaching conversation is, what's happening right now? Position A. What do you want instead? What's the outcome? The coaching piece is how you get from A to B. And they'd go off and come back the following months having not changed a thing. And so this is the screw up and repeat pattern, the Groundhog Day, which led me to learn all sorts of different techniques. So like a lot of coaches, I became an NLP practitioner, master practitioner, trainer of NLP, hypnotherapist, EFTer, blah, blah, blah. And then I found something called havening, which not only changed my own life, but it changed the life of my clients. And so the book takes you on a journey to, one, change your mindset. So get you in the right mindset, away from one of the mindsets that people, again, or traps that people fall into, is victim mentality. So I talk about the Cartman drama triangle. You know, it's always someone else's fault. The blame is outside of them. Whilst they're in that mindset, they can't fix their own problem. So we do a bit on mindset. Then we look at what are the limiting beliefs, behaviours and feelings that are stopping them from getting to their position B. Because, and the reason the book's called Inner Brilliance, Outer Shine, is that it's the inner stuff that gets in the way of the outer results. So what we're doing is we're resolving the inner issues so that they get better outer results. And so the next few chapters are focused on, we get personal, we talk about childhood, we talk about adverse childhood experiences, how these impact on our emotions, behaviours and beliefs, and the results that we're getting. And then we get to the havening chapter, which is where it's like cheating and we wave a magic wand and we go, and you can, because Havening is so easy to use. I mean, I've got a 2-minute video on it. That's how easy it is to use. It's simple, it's easy, but it also generates this permanent change. And it's based on research that was done by a doctor of neuroscience, a guy called Ron Rudin, who's actually written the foreword for the book. So you use the technique yourself to clear the inner stuff. And then the latter half of the book is almost like a bit of a maintenance program. So it's maintaining that positive mindset. So how do you manage inner dialogue? How do you manage limiting emotions? So I also cover EFT, which is another amazing technique, emotional freedom technique. Because a lot of my clients are executives or working in the professional services industry or HR directors, we look at personal effectiveness as well. So one of the things that can prevent us from shining, so that's the outcome, that's the transformation, is that people are personally ineffective. So the other characteristic with this group of readers is that they're often good eggs. They do loads of things for people. They put everybody else first, which plays havoc with their metaphoric production line and makes them personally ineffective. And then the final kind of maintenance chapter is you could do all of that stuff. So you go on that journey. And the idea is that you arrive at what I refer to as destination joy.
Yeah.
As part of because often clients, when they come and sit in the coaching chair, they're at destination grim through no fault of their own. We don't set out to end up somewhere miserable. It just happens. So we also do some vision setting, goal setting as well. And then, so you could go through this total journey. If you don't then look after what you put in your body, that will also affect you as well. So the final chapter is about how you eat, how you sleep, and how you move, because all of those things will affect state of mind and performance and how much you shine as well. So for example, a little bit of interesting research and a headline that got my attention was "Donuts make you angry." I was like, really? But again, it's because, of the saturated fat that's in it, and then that influences mood, state. It can make us more aggressive. So again, you imagine you've popped a donut in your mouth, you're at work, you go into a board meeting, Mr. Angry comes out.
Yeah.
So you could do all of that work and then kind of fall at the final hurdle. So that's it, really.
Oh, that's fantastic. So basically it's a toolkit. You cover pretty much everything from the inside out so that you can shine, you have that outer shine, yeah?
Yes, absolutely.
And you're talking inside out, from inside here and inside your gut and inside the whole you. So it's very holistic.
Yes. So you shine outwardly.
I love it.
Because often, when people, again, I keep pointing over there because that's where my coaching chair is. When people come and sit in that chair, they're not shining. The dull has been the dull. The shine has been dulled.
Yeah. How would
and
somebody know they should read your book? What would they be thinking or feeling or doing right now that would make them know to read your book?
But that's a really interesting question, because you and I have had this conversation, and sometimes and one of the emails I sent you was, and I was having this chat with my husband, and the summary was something along the lines of the book you don't realise you need.
Yeah.
And you actually get into it. So, the title might be a bit misleading in the Inner Brilliance How to Shine. Well, I'm doing amazing, I'm amazing at life. Because to be perfectly honest, the people I work with, they're in the top 5% of income earners. So they're already amazingly successful. But they reach a tipping point, and that could be the trigger and why they end up in my chair. So it might just be that everything has got too much, work and life has got too much, and they realise that they're working really hard, they're overworking, and actually they're at destination grim, they're not enjoying themselves. So they're kind of going, what is all of this about? So often execs will talk about, look, I never switch off, I get home at night, I'm obsessed with my work, I never enjoy my holidays, I'm not there for my family. Those are all warning signs that something needs to change. And it's often the personal stuff, because again, when I'm working with clients, I'll talk about life impacts work and work impacts life. And the two are inextricably linked. And it might be that we're making changes in life, but work will benefit and vice versa. And I've got one client, and he'll know, if he listens to this podcast, he'll know I'm talking about him. And he talks about being balanced, so, and feeling like himself. And he refers to the fact his partners talk about him being Estelle. And so there's pre-Estelle and there's post-Estelle. And post the intervention, he just feels balanced himself, able to, just be, really. And that then links back to my business name, Be, because it's about being.
Yeah, I know personally the feeling of being Estelle. And when you coach me, I for weeks afterwards, there's an impact that kind of follows me through, and then I find a little decay of that impact, and I need to come back to you. And then, but it's building. I'm building my own inner brilliance, so that I can be a better shiner. So yeah, thank you. I love being Estelle. We're our own little fan club here. Okay, so now for people listening, I want them to understand your creation process. Now, I think of the creation process along these lines. So there's the chaos that's going on in the world and in your head, and all the input things that you're bringing in, and the things you're learning and your clients, and all this is the input, and it's kind of a chaotic thing. And you're one of the least chaotic people I've ever worked with. But so if you imagine, and then in order to get to that creation, a minimum valuable asset for your business, a book or a course or a training program or whatever it is that you want to create at the end, you have to go through constraints, and nobody wants to do the constraints. So, and that's the process. It's just how it is. I wish I could make it so that wasn't the process, but that's how it is. So talk to me about your process from the chaos in your head, the constraints that you worked within and that you set upon yourself to get your creation, this book, at the end of the day. So talk to me about the process.
Well, the first confession is that it took me 10 years to write the sodding thing. And that was because of the constraints, actually. And so 10 years ago, started writing. I could even show you the writer's yearbooks back in my cabinet for 2009. It's really embarrassing. Started writing, did what you shouldn't do, shared it with some family members. One family member was really positive. Another absolutely put me off writing for life. And so that was an inner constraint. I felt like I was about 5-year-old back at school. Oh, I can't do this thing. And had all sorts of inner limiting beliefs about being able to write. And so then what I found I would do is I'd start writing and then I would stop, because I'd get to a position where there was just too much chaos. I had no sense of direction. And then there was that serendipitous moment where I was thinking about writing a book. You contacted me. We had our session and I was like, oh my God, this is the answer to my prayers. Do you know what I mean? And you helped me sort through that chaos. And I'll be honest, I don't like chaos, as you can probably tell. But you helped to provide me with systems. And I don't know if you remember my old spreadsheet. So, I had to map everything out, but you helped me to do that with your thoughtful questions. I was looking at my client avatars again just this morning, and all of that helped. And in terms of, so I'd got inner constraints, which were I can't do it. The other belief I've got going on was I don't have the time to write a book.
Yeah.
And I thought it would take me 12 months. It didn't. It took me 7 months.
Yeah.
And so you absolutely can write a book. And I simply set aside Mondays. I say simply, it was a big like, I'm not going to do any work on Mondays other than writing, but it worked fine.
Yeah.
You know, it was absolutely fine. And I'm trying to think what else I was going to mention now.
So the spreadsheet that you came up with was fantastic. All of my clients do it slightly differently, but you know, I ask them the questions and I get them going. Some people make post-it notes, some people make notebook notes, some people do a spreadsheet. Your spreadsheet was comprehensive. I was dead impressed. So what did you do after? Because I mean, a spreadsheet, people think spreadsheet, writing a book. How do those two things go together? How did you get from that spreadsheet, very organized and sort of bullets and lists, to the creative process and writing? How did you do that leap? Because that structure to creation, how did you do that?
Well, so my spreadsheet was basically just a big mind dump about what I wanted to include in the book. You encouraged me to cut stuff out, which was brilliant and helped focus my mind. I don't know if you can remember, I got completely obsessed about the title as well. I even had a titles page, and then I got obsessed about, and I did all sorts of research with my beta readers and all that type of stuff. And then I got obsessed about the subtitle. That's one thing I wouldn't do again. Give them my time again. But with the spreadsheet, once I'd done my mind dump and I'd got an idea of where my research was going to go and all that type of thing, when I came to write a chapter, that was my focus. But what was interesting is that the mind dump was probably the hardest part, because sometimes I'd write my book and I wouldn't even look at what was in that spreadsheet because I'd already knew where I was going with it. And actually that was some of my best writing, where I was just free and, you know, seeing where it went. And there were other times when I completely balls it up. And I don't even remember, we got massive fat chapters.
Yeah.
And like, where the hell is this going?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'd have to create 2 chapters, and so I'd obviously got too much to say. And you know, the beautiful thing about writing, you never know what's going to come out of your head, just as I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth, you know, 2 sentences ahead. And that's what I love about writing, is that, you know, you just got to sit and let it flow. But sometimes that's, like you say, where you need your constraints.
I think fabulous. I love never know what's going to come out of your head. And also I love that you're talking yourself into writing another book, because, you know, I think of writing, it's kind of cathartic and therapeutic, but there's also it's a way of organizing the thoughts in your head so that other people can understand what's going on in the crazy that's happening in your head, in the chaos that's in your head. And writing is, sometimes you don't even know what you think until you've written it.
Yeah, exactly. And it also helps, you know, your business, if you're a consultant or a coach, or, you know, that process in the book is a process I've been using for donkey's years, but I've never documented it.
Yeah.
And that is now captured. And, you know, for those people that can't afford the service, they can do it for themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. Fantastic.
You know, it's a way of helping other people.
Yeah. And also they can do it for themselves, but and that will, so from your book and what you've created now, yes, they can go away and do it for themselves, and that will give them a step change. It will help them become more themselves, and then they will earn more money and they'll be more relaxed, and then they'll have more money to spend with you. There's no fear of in my opinion, you should never be afraid of documenting and sharing your process, because it's when they work with you personally, then they get that, it's a whole extra dimension. But you can actually, if you can help them in your book, you can help them get closer to being able to afford you. So yeah, I never worry about giving too much away. It's a fear that lots of people have, giving too much away. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to ask you some more questions. You've been very good about your 10 years. It took you 10 years to write your book, and then you wrote it in 7 months. So that 10 years to 7 months, I mean, those are like two extremes. Did you imagine it would only take 7 months, or was that a shock for you?
No, it was a shock, because, you know, in your program, you encourage the client to write a letter or to write an email to self, which then pops up 12 months later.
Yeah.
And I said, mine came up the other week, and I was like, oh my God, I hadn't, you know, I finished it ages ago.
Yeah. So you beat your own expectations?
Yeah, I was amazed.
Yeah, fantastic. The future me email thing, I'll put it in the link below, is for me, I use it for myself. And like we talked about right at the beginning, sometimes you write the book that you need to read, or you create the program that you needed yourself. I did this because I needed it. I needed to set future goals, and then to know that I had actually achieved them, to actually be able to say, oh my God, I did what I set out to do. I'm a good girl, not a completely crazy, chaos-filled Looney Tunes. You know, I actually can achieve things and tick them off. So that's why I came up with that for me. And then I realised how useful it was and shared it with other people. But, okay, so a couple of things you've brought up here. One of them is havening. I'd like to go back to havening, because you called it the cheat. So it's a trick, it's a cheat, it's a you know, it's getting people there faster. Do you haven yourself? Do you use havening on yourself to cheat the process?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I was recording my first podcast the other day, and I'm sat there rocking on my swing seat, and as I'm recording this podcast spontaneously, excuse me, and I confessed to the listeners that I realised the issue I was talking about on the podcast needed some work doing on. And I shared the memory that I was going to go off and haven after the podcast. And I went off, and that's what I did. And, you know, I've got to practice what I preach. Or as one other coach said to me on a post today, you've got to eat what you cook. Because, you know, and that can sometimes be one of the criticisms of the coaching community or the NLP community, is that you've got to sort your own stuff out first to be able to work with other people. So yeah, and you know, just as you describe it, as we'll do a piece of work and then we'll have a step change, and then we'll have a step change, and that's the way it is, that you'll do a piece of havening work, and there might be all sorts of different connected events, and you'll feel the benefit. But the interesting thing with havening is that, you know, and this just to give you an example, so I used to have a real fear of heights, and I used to be claustrophobic as well. So when I was 30, it was so embarrassing. We went to New York. I couldn't go up the Empire State Building because it was in a lift and it was up high. And so I'm stood
two
at the
of
bottom.
your biggest fears.
And yet it was for my 30th birthday, so my husband went up himself. And long story short, I did a piece of havening work, which I share in the book. And a couple of years ago, went off skiing, and all of a sudden I realised I'm in a gondola, which is basically a high up lift, and I was on my own, and I didn't give a crap. I was just like, oh my God, I've forgotten I'd done that piece of work, and that I'm no longer afraid of these things. And that's when it feels like cheating, because you'll do a piece of work, you'll slot back into a context, and you're just different. And sometimes, you know, like when you and I have worked, sometimes people get almost amnesia, like, what did we work on?
Yeah, you have to remind me every time we talk again. I'm like, what did we do last time? It's like you've given me some sort of magic pill that that elevates me to my next levels. And, you know, I'm still down here, but I'm getting there, And I look forward to the pill every time. But it's like a magic trick. The havening you've said is a 2-minute video. I'm going to put the link to that 2-minute video below, because it's a cool video. It's really funny, and it's effective. You know, I watched that while we were working on your book. I refused to let you do havening on me because I wanted to read about it fresh and practice it from the book to test it. I'm a tester. I believe in testing of everything. And I did a little bit and I was practicing, and I was like, okay, now you can coach me. And that was how I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I like this. Now I'll let you coach me. And your book, the stories you share in the book is fantastic. Buy the book. The book is fantastic. The stories you share and the way you are so open and relaxed in the book, like you are now, that really will help people take that next step. Okay, right. I'm gonna, you mentioned something, podcast, first thing, a new thing you've done recently. So one of my favorite questions, and I'm using it on everybody at the moment, is when was the last time you did something for the first time?
Well, as I was saying earlier, I've had to do lots of things for the first time, and I was having a chat with my stepson yesterday because we were doing a website review, and he has been giving me hints and tips for absolutely ages, and I realised the reason I didn't take action is that I was too comfortable. Business was easy, it was just coming in, and there was no kick up the bum for me to do anything different. Well, when the pandemic hit, business fell off a cliff for me because people, excuse me, like to come to my office and sit in the coaching chair. And even though we could do it via, you know, Zoom or whatever else, because we'd already got that personal relationship, it didn't translate. And that's one of the ways, that's one of the things I need to change in my business, is that I need to recruit clients online so that they're more comfortable with doing what we're doing right now. Yeah. So consequently, I have done a podcast. I think I'm a classic activist. I don't care about screw-ups or failing.
Fantastic.
Because I just like to get on, learn, have a go. I learn from that and then go, oh, I wouldn't do that again. So I wouldn't sit on the swing seat again with the traffic in the background and the birds tweeting in the background. I learned from that. I will do something different next time. I have started blogging on Medium. That was something new. I've done blogs for years, but you know, to publish it on a site like that was quite scary and exciting. I did my first webinar a couple of months ago. I had this big thing about, because I'm also a trainer, oh, you know, you don't need webinars. Well, do you know what? I've had a kick up the bum. And what was interesting, I absolutely loved it. I really, really loved it. And I can't believe I've procrastinated so long over it. And I got my first paid online work as well. So I repurposed material that I'd done on a webinar, recorded it and sold it. So it was like a bit of passive income. So yeah, loads of things. As I say, I've had a big kick up the rear. And so I've just been forced to do lots of things differently. And yes, it's been scary, but it's also been dead exciting. I haven't had this excitement and enthusiasm for changing things since I set up B 15 years ago. It's just been woohoo!
Fantastic. Those are brilliant, Lisa. I mean, blogging on someone else's platform, experimenting with podcasts, experimenting with a webinar, getting paid for repurposing material. I mean, that's a fantastic list. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. What have you learned? Because you needed the kick up the bum of a pandemic to get you to do these things. So what are you going to do in the future to avoid, because I do it as well. I get into this sort of, like, I get up in the morning, I do the routine. Everybody tells you, you know, you need a morning routine, you need an evening routine, get a plan, get a system, do this. How are you going to keep this enthusiasm for scary but exciting things in the future? What, so that you don't need another pandemic to keep this movement forward?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I get my, well, I do know I get my excitement and my inspiration from reading stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so that is, and I think one of the challenges, you know, back to managing constraints and all that type of thing I've had during this pandemic, is that I've been learning so much stuff. I've had so many ideas, you know, a bit like, you know, that webinar you did with the ideas jar, and oh my god, my head was like exploding with all these ideas. You know, I'll show you another book that I'm reading at the minute, Copywriting Secrets. I've got so many business books on the go which provides amazing inspiration. But I think the thing I'll take away from this is, because I have cracked through my to-do list like nobody's business, and I've just got to get on with it. And the big lesson has got to be recognise when you're procrastinating. But, oh my God, I must be the world's worst procrastinator sat here. Procrastinated for 10 years over my book, over all these bloody changes that I've made in my own business. So that's got to be the lesson, hasn't it? Recognise when I'm procrastinating and just crack on.
Yeah, I think, and that you make that sound so easy, and it's so hard, isn't it? Because I think we is it James Clear's book? I can't think if it's James Clear's book. There's a book about, and it talks about what are the triggers, and when you've got to spot the trigger and then add a new, rather than try and remove a habit, you need to add something onto that trigger. So, for example, procrastination is one of my favorite things in the world. I'm with you on the master of procrastination. I think I'm better at chaosification and creating chaos than I am at any other thing in the world. And that chaos that you were talking about, of the reading, of the podcasts, of the learning stuff.
Yeah.
There comes a point, I believe, where you have to say, okay, yeah, I'm starting to see the same things again and again and again, the same patterns, the same learning. I'm reading almost the same book, just with a different name, different author's name on it.
Oh
okay,
God,
that means I know now. That's the trigger for, now I know, now I've got to go out there and do. So the change from knowing to doing, and that's the biggest jump and the biggest gap that we all have to do, I think. But I think there's a trigger, and I think the trigger is, I've read this book before, or I've seen this is the second time I've seen this type of information. That means I already have learnt this. Now I need to do something with it.
No, that is such a massive light bulb, honestly. It really is. That's such a valid point, because, and I'm sat here wincing going, oh my God, because I read so many books on how to write a book. And I'm reading so many marketing books at the minute. So I'm like, oh, I need to put the books down now and just do.
I think exactly. And you should dive into your fearlessness, you know, because you are one of the people I know that just thinks, I'm going to do something, and then you just go out and do it. And so I think that right now is the time for all of us to do that. You know, you kind of like, there is you can't leap a chasm in, you can't jump a chasm in 2 steps, or whatever that saying is. You've got to leap, and I think now's the time to take a leap of faith and know that you know enough, and just test, because you're not afraid. So if the test comes back with anything that we're doing, I'm talking not to you, talking to me. The test, if we treat ourselves as experimenters rather than experts,
exactly,
then it gives us the permission to go out there and try something like this podcast. This is new for me. This is one of my, when have you done something for the first time recently? This is one for me, doing podcasts. I think there's a time where to learn, and there's a time to gather information, and then there's a time to just get out there and test it. And I'm in testing mode. I'm an experimenter, not an expert. And I'm enjoying it. So I like, you know, I find it really exciting. So, okay. What advice, Estelle, would you give to your 20-year-old self now?
Yeah, just to have more personal faith. You you know, that I think that's, but you know, that's what I do in my job, is that I get people to believe in themselves. And you know, little old me, I'm trying to think how old I would be. Yeah, I was an HR manager 20 years ago, and I had aspirations of running my own business and was completely scared and didn't think I was good enough to do that. And here we are, 15 years in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, you little faith.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that is always, and I think that has served me well, because I know from that lesson that you've got to kind of shoot for the stars and just give it a go. And I loved what you said earlier, that we are experimenters, because it reframes it reframes failure, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
If we're experimenting, it's permission, isn't it, to have a go?
Yeah. Well, my most
You're right
recent
or wrong.
experiment was an online join my club, basically. And oh my God, how many times has that just crashed, fallen down? The payment processing system doesn't work. And, you know, and it's an experiment. And people are saying, oh, I want to buy it. And I'm like, can't, go away. Leave me alone. It will be working soon, very, very soon, she says optimistically. But it's an experiment. And then I didn't feel guilty when it failed, because it was just a step onto success. And, you know, I now know I need to fix this, or I need to get someone to sort that out, or I need to buy a different thing. It's just a step closer to the success.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of black box thinking.
Yeah.
And that's a similar ethos, that, you know, you benefit from marginal gains, and you can spend loads of time perfecting just that one item and it never gets out into the world. Or you can make an adjustment and move on, and you adopt this growth mindset. As opposed to being afraid of failing.
And that perfectly describes my minimum valuable asset process, which is make something, the smallest item you can, that's valuable to the person who needs it, that is an asset to you. That means that you're not there working, which is your paid online, repurposing your paid online course. You know, it's the minimum you could have done. It's valuable to the person who buys it, and it's an asset for you because it creates stuff while you're not there. And on that subject, what is that, and how do we get it?
Well, it is, you can't get it actually. Well, you can get it. You see, it's a fuddled way around of getting it, because I did it through Eventbrite. So you can download it through that. It'll be on until the end of the year. But it's a strategic planning session. And I think it's something like £29, something like that. And it's a 2-hour workshop. You get a strategic planning template. So the idea is, at the minute, lots of people and organisations are having to pivot the business. They're having to redirect because of the pandemic, because of the recession approaching. And so they need to think about where they take their own business. And often people get scared by visioning, strategic planning. They think it's overcomplicated. Well, this is a dead simple process. It's a 1-page plan. So you get the template, and then you get the 2-hour webinar, which explains you how to fill in the template. But you also get real live examples from previous participants. Because again, sometimes they'll go, well, what is the vision? You know, can I see an example? Well, yeah, you can hear what the other webinar delegates said. So that's it.
Fantastic. So that is exactly a minimum valuable asset. It's simple, adds huge value to the person who buys it, and it's an asset for you because it sits there and works while you're not there. So that's a perfect minimum valuable asset. Good job. Okay, so let's wrap it up now. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to tell me?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so how can people get in touch with you? Where's the best way for them to find out all about Estelle and to get your book?
Looking for a publisher, if you're listening.
Love it.
You can find me on social media, which is Estelle, Estelle, and then it's the word at, and then B spelt with 3 E's. B. So you can usually find me on all usual spots, so LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube as well. And also my new podcast, which is Insider Exec Secrets. But if you want to get in touch, just drop me an email, estelle@2b.com. So it's the number 2. I gave the wrong email address because people get confused with that one. Right.
Okay, that was really funny. Right.
Ready? So my email address is Estelle, Estelle, at B, spelt with 3 E's, dot, and it's an unusual one, company. So estelle@b.company. Just drop me a line, and you can book a free discovery session as well. So if you go to my website, you'll be able to book a free 2-hour discovery session. You can experience havening if you want. I've got my availability on the website, which is all the W's, and the website address is b.company.
Fantastic. So brilliant. So, and I'd highly recommend the discovery, the disco session, as I always put it in my diary, the disco session. It's a really great way of finding out about Estelle, seeing if you click with her, and she'll give you an insight into havening, and you'll be shocked at how fast you can cheat getting better at being you. Okay, Estelle, thank you so much for being with us, and I'll put all the links below so that people can get in touch with you. Ciao.
Brilliant. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.